The Great Lakes combine some of the world's most glorious scenery with some of the most phenomenal trout and salmon angling found anywhere today. But that hasn't always been the case. Coaster brook trout and Lakers ruled here until the late 19th century, when browns and steelhead were introduced. Pacific salmon were introduced in the 1960s, and the prize for Great Lakes fishermen soon became the Chinook, or king salmon. The aptly named King ruled the Great Lakes through the 70s and 80s with drag-screaming runs and gravity-defying leaps. Bacteriological kidney disease, or BKD, interrupted this fishery in the late 1980s and into the 90s. But the Kings are back now, and the salmon and trout fishery is hotter than ever. In this silver bullet world of high seas adventure, it pays to have a compass pointing the way to consistent location and better techniques. Set the drag carefully, find a sturdy handhold, and get ready for Great Lakes salmon and trout. Now, your host, In-Fisherman resident expert, Matt Straw.
Hey pal, you looking for a fight? Well, you've come to the right place. Nothing fights like the silver torpedoes out here in the Great Lakes. Welcome to an exciting installment of the In-Fisherman series. I'm Matt Straw, and we're going to be going all over the Great Lakes region for brown trout on the Niagara Bar, lake trout off the Niagara River mouth, steelhead fishing in the Niagara River. We're going to go off Indiana for cohos, and we're going to be up here in Wisconsin on Lake Michigan for king salmon in a variety of situations. There's a lot of information here, cutting-edge information about how and when to go to the Great Lakes to get in some great fishing. You're going to love this. The first segment, the party opens. We're going to be on the Niagara Bar with John Oravec and Mike Carney and myself, fishing with short lines and live bait for lake trout. Take a look at this.
Niagara Lake Trout. Before salmon were introduced to the Great Lakes, the lake trout reigned supreme. Lakers were commercially fished in Lake Ontario for almost 200 years and became extremely popular with sports fishermen who plied the depths with wire line and heavy weights. Fishing pressure, exotic lamprey eels, and the pollution of the industrial age combined to decimate native lake trout populations throughout the Great Lakes. The discovery that lake trout could not successfully breed in the presence of PCBs helped explain why spawning efforts were unsuccessful. Quite possibly, the native lake trout of Lake Ontario became extinct. Today, because of successful stocking programs, the eradication of pollutants, and strong efforts to contain the lamprey population, lake trout are making a rebound in Lake Ontario. Fish in the 20-pound range are becoming common again, and the mouth of the mighty Niagara calls them in like a mythic Homerian siren all winter long.
We're out on the Niagara Bar, folks. What a way to start a show. Doubled up already. And the Lakers here, as Johnny was telling us earlier, is just a way station for them. They come in here, the Niagara River's here. It's a big conveyor, just bringing food.
Incredible. We haven't been out here 10 minutes. You know, the Great Lakes represent the biggest fish market in the world in more ways than one. There are more fish being caught, more licensed anglers in the Great Lakes than in any comparatively sized region anywhere in the world.
Tough critters. Man, look at them go.
Big gators.
That bait wasn't on the bottom 5 seconds, and all I felt was one tap, and the line went screaming out. I was lucky to hang on to the pole. And he is way back there. And that's about as much pressure as I can do right now. We're drifting north, this fish is heading south.
And back up to Niagara.
He is. This one must be running up to spawn at the moment. We want him to come back this way. That rod is just about maxed out right there, Matthew. Oh, man. Niagara River is a fish magnet. You've got current, structure, highly oxygenated water, a tremendous bait fish population. And you've got lake trout coming and going in and out of here from spawn. Others are coming into spawn, and then after the spawn, they just lay out here, eat and get ugly.
There's a net filler.
Yep. Yeah.
Just a girthy critter.
They just fatten themselves up out here. There's alewives, smelt, emerald shiners. It's just a feeding way station for these fish. And look at that, another clean machine. Just getting fatter by the day.
Johnny? Doesn't take long. You shut the boat down, drop it down, bam, you got one on.
We're right on that ledge.
Right on top.
They're perching on that ledge of the Niagara Bar.
Look at this girl. Look at this girl.
Horse. Fire drill.
Yep.
Fire drill. Let's bring her over here. Porpoising around. I tell you, anybody that disses lake trout for their fight, they've never fought them on light tackle and light gear like this. They're just tough as nails.
You know, Matthew, these can be caught on a live bait three-way rig, banana plugs off a three-way, or jigs and grubs. They'll eat them all.
There we go.
Oh, look at that.
Lake trout in the Great Lakes are the biggest thing that swim. Maybe with the possible exception of the big lake sturgeon, but the Great Lakes record is 62 pounds. And here in Lake Ontario, they catch them on the bar upwards of 30 pounds. Well, how big do they get out here?
Well, there's been a 39-10. There's been 30-pounders annually. I had a 27-pound 9-ounce last year on 8-pound test.
Beautiful fish, and there's a lot of them out here too. Just the bottom is just carpeted with these fish. Beautiful fish. Let's put her back, get another one. We'll talk about the rigging. The Niagara Bar is basically a huge reef that tops out in the 15-foot range, but it's surrounded by depths of 40 feet or more. In fall, winter, and spring, the conventional method is to find the main river current and use it to drift the boat toward and over the bar. The current lanes move around out in Lake Ontario depending on wind direction and lake currents, so you may have to reposition the boat a few times to find the right drift. On bright, calm days, lakers tend to hug the base of the structure or cruise the deep adjacent flats. On dark, windy days with big waves, look for them right on top in 15 to 20 feet. The best way to cover bottom in these changing depths is with a very basic bait rig, using either a slinky or a length of pencil lead, and most days 1 ounce is about right. Tie this to a 2 to 3 foot dropper from a 3-way swivel. Tie the main line to the swivel and use a 4 to 8 foot fluorocarbon leader, testing 10 to 15 pounds. The most popular bait is an emerald shiner on a size 4 to size 2 octopus style hook. Don't drag the weight, just touch bottom from time to time to make certain it's close. The best alternative baits for drifting are jigging spoons like the Blue Fox candlefish and blade baits in the 3/4 to 1.5 ounce range. Some days the best action is to jig aggressively, and at other times lakers want it just dangling and occasionally tapping rocks. Hang on tight, fish in the 30-pound range are possible here. There you go, Johnny. Hold
Thanks,
that for a
Matt.
second.
Way to go. Great fish.
You know, sometimes you can catch 100 fish a day like this on this system, and yet we're relatively close to most of the major metropolitan areas in the Midwest. This is the kind of fish that people will fly in thousands of miles up into Canada to catch, and yet the Niagara, I'll tell you, it's a wonder to see, and it's relatively inexpensive to experience. It's a beautiful place.